Hello world, welcome back to CyberCreed. Today in this video we will be discussing how you can build your own applications using this Langchain and ChatGPT. So this video is going to be very much interesting. We are going to learn multiple stuff like what are the vector databases and how we connect and put things together into the perspective, as well as we will start from the very basics, from using the just basic ChatGPT simple Python code, and then we will also try to train our own model using the Langchain on our custom PDF file, and then we are going to create a question answering system out of it. And this video is going to help you learn a lot, and it will also give you a proper idea what all things that you can actually make with that. So with that said, let's get right into the video and let's start coding. So let me just first start by sharing this screen. So you can basically go to this website platform.openapi.com/playground, and there you will see this type of assistants. You can simply ask your question here like, hello, how are you doing, something like this. And you have to basically paste it here, and if you click on submit, it will provide you with a response for that particular message if you have the ChatGPT API enabled. And also if you want to get the code of it, you can simply click here on view code, and it is going to give you the code for it. So here I have already reached the limit. You have reached the usage limit, so I am not being basically able to get that, but I have the ChatGPT API that is going to help me perform other actions that we are going to use in the code. So for that, the first thing that we have to do, we can simply go here, and this is the code that we can simply put it on our system, and with the help of Python code we can start interacting with this OpenAI. How cool is it? So now let's try to put that code, and let's see if you are even able to get the response out of it or not. So here I will be using one very cool code editor. So it is called Cursor, and it is basically really like our VS Code, but here it is powered with ChatGPT. You can directly ask question into it, as well as you can interact with it, and it is going to work perfectly fine. So firstly, let me open the terminal, and let me just create a folder for that. So let me open the PowerShell. So I am doing it in Windows CD. I have the code folder, and inside this code I will simply create a directory for our project, mkdir. So it is pdf_chat, because we are going to create an application for PDF chatting. So firstly I have created a document. Now I have to open my code editor into it. So I can write cursor, and it's like PDF chat. So it should open it up onto my secondary screen. Let me just put it down here. So one thing that I might have to do here is to zoom it a bit. So now the first thing that we need to do is to create a Python file. Let's say main.py, and we can simply paste the code. Sorry, not this one. If I go to the website again, the code that I need to paste here is this view code. You can simply click on copy, and you can go to your code editor, simply paste it here. Now here you see the OpenAI is not installed, and here we are basically using this cursor that is powered by AI, and it is just similar to VS Code, or even you can say it is the clone of the VS Code. You see all of the extension that is installed on the VS Code. I can see it here. You can also install the extension from the marketplace, but that's a topic for other thing. But here OpenAI is not installed, so I can also ask it how I can fix it, but I know that I have to basically install OpenAI. So for that, as a good practice, it is always recommended to create a virtual environment for the project that you are going to be working with. So here what I am going to do, I am simply going to install OpenAI. So before installing it, I have to create a virtual environment. So I will simply write Python -m venv for virtual environment, and then the name of the virtual environment. Let's say chat env to create the environment for the chat. So here you see it is going to say chat env is created, and here it is asking, it have automatically detected the new environment. So if I click on yes, now it will simply use our this code is now being used with this new environment that we have created. So what I can do, so firstly I need to activate the environment, and then and only then I should install this OpenAI. So for that I have to basically write so chat is, I think it is in bin or script. So yeah, it is in here. Now I have activated it, and you can see the name is now being displayed here. Now what we have to do, sorry, not Control L to clear, Control L will just open a chat, and here you can just directly interact with the chat using this chat GPT 4 or 3.5. It like gives 20 to 30 free chat GPT 4 access to, and you can directly ask the questions from your code. But let's not get distracted. So the first thing that we need to do is to install this OpenAI. So we have to say pip install, and I'll paste it here, and this will simply install it. So now it is basically installed. But here is one of the important factors. So now you see that underline have gone. So now the next important step here is that we have to basically set this OpenAI key. So for that, what I am going to do, and what you should always do, just don't paste your OpenAI key here. To get the OpenAI key, OpenAPI key, sorry. The best and the easiest way, if you can, if you are at the playground, you can click on the view code, and here you see you can get your API key here. You can simply click here, and this will take you to the API key. So what you have to do, you can basically create a new secret and say chat or anything, you can name whatever you want. Create a new secret key, and now it's asking us to verify the puzzle. Let's begin the puzzle. Let me quickly complete it. So now here I have got this API key, so I'll simply copy it and go to my cursor, and here I have to create .env file. So .env, so it will contain all the important information about the environment variable. So here is my secret key. So of course this secret, you have to paste your own secret key, and this secret key is not going to work for you even if you try to. So here is OpenAPI key, and here if I go here, I can simply say OpenAPI key is equal to this. So you have to paste your own OpenAPI key to work. You should not just simply copy and paste this, because this is the account that I am using that does not have the valid API key, but you have to make sure to put your own real API key here. So now if we try to run the code as it is, so let me just write CLS to clear the screen, and now if I run the code python main.py, so here you see it is saying no API key provided. You can set the OpenAPI key in something this way manner, or you should create an environment variable, but we have set this inside our env file. But here is the trick, you cannot load it just using this get env. You have to use something known as .env. So let me just quickly show you how you can do this. So you can say search python .env. So this is the library that enables us to basically load our environment variables from the file, or else you have to basically create set that inside your file. So here you see we have to also install this library too. So for installing, let me simply clear the screen, paste it here, pip install python.env. So it's installed. Now let's simply go there, and we can simply say from .env load env. I could have also done that, but let's go with the easy mode. So here I am simply importing the load.env. So this basically takes the variable from .env. So if the .env is in the current directory of our code, it will automatically detect it. If it is not there, then you have to provide the exact path. So in our case it is there, so we don't have to do that. Now if I remove, and I can comment this line, because Now it will automatically load the OpenAPI key, I guess. And now if I run the code, okay, not this, python main.py. Okay, API key is stored in the file or something like this. Again, it's an error. Why so? We have loaded the environment variable, but the thing that we did was loading it properly. So you have to basically, if I run the code now. So now the code have ran successfully, because after loading you just don't load it, you have to also take it. So now it will be taking from our .env file. So now how we can see that the response is correct or not? So for that, what we can do, we can simply say print. We are going step by step. So now if we see print main, what it is actually going to print, it is going to print this large number of messages. Let me just quickly run it again, because the terminal formatting is not so good. So here, this is the entire dictionary that it is returning to us. So just to get this message, so here is the content. Hello, I am an AI, so I don't have any feeling, but I am here to help you. How can I assist you today, or something like that. So it is inside this content. So to get this, what we have to do, so from response, firstly we have to get these choices. So I can simply paste the choice. So after this choice, this is a list, and inside this list, this is the first entry even. So from this list, let's suppose this is the list, so I will just say get the first one, not like that, after this colon 0. So it will get this. So now we are here inside this list. This is the thing that we have selected. Now we have index, we have message. So now inside message, inside content, we have the entire message. So I have to basically simply copy this. I am explaining each and every step. So if you are enjoying the video, please make sure to like it and subscribe our channel too. So now we have to basically go and copy the content, and let me just paste it here. So now let me just change the question also, like hello, how are you doing, like hey, how will AI change the world, say it in one sentence or whatever. Don't judge me on my English, because the spelling mistakes are really terrible. So now if I run the code, hopefully we should just get the response like AI is the potential to change the world, enhancing blah 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 and things like that. So this is how we can do it using the normal method of using simply the ChatGPT and pretty quite lines of code. But there is a simpler way to do that, and that is using our Langchain. So here if I simply go to Langchain, so always make sure to go to the documentation, because there you are going to get more wider view of idea. So here I should also open this Langchain. So the Langchain is basically in two particular languages currently, JavaScript and Python. So we have to basically do the installations too. So basically to install to use anything, we have to basically use the installation. So now let me just simply go ahead and paste this, and equal to, let me just check the version quickly, equal to 0.0.231. I hope this is going to work perfectly, because this is the older version on which I have tried and tested the code, because the Langchain is rapidly increasing. So I am just going to stick to the version that I have currently used, and you can try with the new one. It should work most of the thing. If there is any changes, let me know. I will provide a new video tackling that particular problem. So now till our Langchain is getting installed, we should basically have a look at the documentation. So this is the installation. Now this is the quick start. So for this also we need OpenAI, but we have already installed it. So now we have to basically use this piece of code with the OpenAPI key here, and we can start building our applications. So here is the small code template. So here we can basically use this, and here you see now the number of lines of code have drastically decreased. So you can say basically llm.predict, and you can start chatting with it. So let me show you in that into action. So instead of writing this all code, like extracting this from this much cunt line of code, what I can do, I can simply firstly decrease this response, comment this code, control backslash to comment it, and now let me first paste the code that we have copied from the website. So first make sure that all the imports should be done above, and the load.env should take care of initializing the chat model. So llm.predict is what, so inside this if you paste the same content like, hey, how is AI going to change the world, say in one sentence or things like that, you can paste it here in predict. But this thing will return something, so you have to also catch that, and you can basically print it. So let's say answer is equal to this llm.predict, and you can print answer. And let's try to run this code now. So cls to clear the screen, python main.py. So now what it is going to do, it ran quickly. So AI will revolutionize the way human interacts with the world or whatever. So it provided the answer here. So instead of writing that large of the code, we have basically simply imported LLM. So we have to basically say which model we are going to use. So OpenAI, it basically takes the parameter till the ChatGPT 3.5. You cannot basically pass GPT-4 here. So for that we have to basically use the chat OpenAPI. So here let me just do one thing. So you can use either chat model. So here if I say chat model, so here we have used so here we have used the LLM. So instead of LLM we can also use the chat model. If I say the chat model, so chat model also have dot predict. So now let's run the code. So here it have run. Now inside OpenAI, if you write just OpenAI, it is going to use the ChatGPT 3.5 default model that you have. But let's suppose you are working for an organization and you have the access for ChatGPT 4. In that case, here in the chat OpenAI, you can simply pass the model. So you can say model is equal to, and here you can say GPT -4 to use the GPT-4, the latest and the greatest. But the downside of using GPT-4 is just one thing, just one, that the speed of the GPT-4 is drastically slower as compared to 3.5, because it have to do much more computation as compared to our GPT 3.5 model. So now let me just simply run the code again, and let's see if the responses are also good or not. Kind of. AI will recognize the word, automating task, enhancing blah blah blah, and things like that. So now we are able to use the GPT-4 model. So it's to use the GPT-3, let me just write the comment here. To use GPT-3 and sorry, not 4. So it basically uses the best version of the GPT-3, which is like GPT 3.5 Turbo Plus or things like that for that OpenAI. So if you are facing any problem, make sure to go inside the code and see what it is trying to use. Inside this OpenAI class, there should be so in base OpenAI, there should be some method. So model name. So here you see model name by default is text DaVinci 003 and max number of tokens. So everything is defaultly set. So if you need to change, you have to basically come here and inside this LLM, and you can say model, and you can change the particular model, things like that. So here by default it is the best GPT-3 version, and chat OpenAI by default also uses that GPT-3, but you can specify GPT-4 here, but you cannot do the same with the OpenAI because it does not support 4. So that is why the chat OpenAI was formed. So now we have seen how easily we can interact with the chat GPT and ask questions. Hey, how is the AI going to change the world? And also you can ask some complex questions. How was our universe created, and also with some spelling mistakes, like here the universe spelling is a mistake and things like that. But as it is ChatGPT, it is simply going to understand it, and this will basically fix it. So let's see. As it is GPT-4, it is taking a bit more time. So the most accepted theory, blah blah blah, whatever theory it is. Now we have seen how we can simply ask the questions with our model, normal model. Now let's try to see and understand how we can do that same using our own data, like by providing it the training data. So in order to train it on our own personal data, the first and most important thing that we need is vector database. So if you look for the vector databases, you can simply search for vector DB. So there are multiple vector databases out there. So some of them will also do the explanation for you. Like this Pinecode, it is one of the most popular one. So you can basically create an account on the Pinecode and you can get the access of their vector database, but we are going to take a kind of different route. So what is vector databases? So it will try to explain, and this is actually what is also going to happen. So we are going to take our PDF file, break it into chunks, and use embeddings to convert our text into the numerical vector form, and then those vector embeddings will be stored inside our vector database. And then what it is going to do, once we ask any question, like let's suppose the PDF is about the COVID, and if I ask how is the COVID or things like that, so or when was the COVID actually detected, so it will, that question will fall into this category. Let's suppose this yellow dot is the question, and then what actually is going to happen is two of the nearest thing will be grabbed and passed to our ChatGPT. So this all information will be passed along with our questions. So now the ChatGPT have the information, like what all things have basically occurred, and it have the question. So with the help of that, it can basically produce quite a unique result or quite a good result. So and that is the theory behind the thing that we are going to do. So for doing that, the first and the important thing that we need is a Docker, because I will be doing it on a Redis vector database. So I will use Redis vector DB because it is kind of like open source and free to use, things like that. Let me open. So for doing this, we have to basically use Docker. So the first thing, please make sure go and download Docker. So it is like 200 to 300 MB. You can simply download it. I already have downloaded and installed it. But after installing Docker, there is also an alternative way. If you don't want to download Docker, you can simply go to the Pinecode. You can see the pricing. So it is one of the expensive one too, but there is also the free tier. You can get started with the free tier, like single shared port, single point, shared environment, single availability zone, things like that. So that should not impact that much for starting up, but if you want an easy startup, you can go with this, but I will show you the different method. So download this Docker, and once this Docker is installed, you have to basically check if it is running or not. So I can say Docker desktop. So you have to open up your Docker and check if it is properly started or not. So once the Docker container is started, the next thing you have to do is, let me just pull out the command for that. So once the Docker is basically installed and up and running, you have to basically use the vector database. So in order to use the vector database, the first thing that you need to write is this command. So I will provide this particular command in the video description, so make sure you can use it. So it is basically docker run and 6379. This is basically the port on which the Redis vector database is actually there. So this will run on our Docker system, and this will be mapped to our local, like the Windows system that I am using, to that particular port. And this is the name of the Docker container that we'll be using, the Redis stack latest. And if I click on here, it will simply start and it will say ready to accept connection. So this is the easiest way, just with installing Docker and this command. This Redis vector database is now running locally onto our own server or onto our own system. So now, as we have told, we want to load data from the PDF file. So you can either take two ways. You can extract the text and pass it to our model and then ask it a question, or what you can do, there's another really good way, is that the Langchain documentation, or Langchain has basically provided a way to read PDF documents, and that is very very useful for us. So let's see how we can do that. So for that, let's open our Langchain documentation. I am trying to show everything with the documentation, so you can also read that. So PDF reader Langchain, you can search it on the Google. Okay, my English Langchain. So here this is the PDF. So firstly you have to install this library, because it on the backend it basically uses PyPDF. So simply open this up, simply paste it, run this, and this will start installing. So but for that I need to just also have the PDF on which we can ask the question. So let me just pull that PDF out. So this is the PDF file, the COVID.pdf. So this is basically the one that I have downloaded from the internet for this specific purpose. And there are information about the COVID was first detected in December 2019 in China, and all the different information is there. That is the PDF that we will be reading. So now we have installed the PyPDF. Now we have the PDF file, and we need to start asking questions from this PDF file. So first step is to load the data from the PDF file. So for this I will use this. So it already have provided us with the beautiful code. So I can simply paste the code here, paste with the imports and things like that. But now here we are not going to use this predict things like this, but we might use this chat model, but not currently. So I will simply write like this, the loader, but here I will simply write the name of the file, that is covid.pdf. So now we have this PDF file. Now here we have pages. So every single page will be loaded, and so if I write print pages, so pages is basically the list which have the multiple pages, so pages of 0. So if I now run to check if it is working fine on the PDF or not, python main.py. So here we see all the data that we have. So let me just clear the screen, make this quite a big. So this contains entire information like research paper, blah blah blah. So inside this, if you also see research paper, health, COVID-19, and all the information is basically of the page 1 is inside our PDF. So which means we are able to read the PDF clearly. Now here comes the most important part. Now we have to store this into our vector database. So this text is required to be sent into the vector database, but for that, if you remember, vector database uses similarity search, and that can only be used when we are basically using numerical data. So we have to somehow convert these pages which contains the textual data to the vector data before sending to our Redis vector database. But there is a document loader that is provided that automatically does this. So if I say so have it provided here, yes. So it already have provided this with this files. So it is basically the documentation. Let me just first copy the code and let me explain you. So here I have written the files, but this is the name of another vector database, but here we are using Redis. So I will simply write Redis, and this is the OpenAI embeddings by which we are going to convert the text into the embeddings. So now if I go down here and let's take the help of our Langchain. So here faz.from documents pages, it have provided the things like that, but let's just copy this faz index and things like that, so we can also ask some questions out of it. But again, remember, we are not using faz, we are basically using Redis. So it will be Redis dot from document and OpenAI embedding. So we have basically Let me rename this variable to document store redis.from document pages, and also we have to give the name of the index. So index, something like this. So this is basically going to take the information of our each page. So we have the list of pages. So all of these will be converted using OpenAI embeddings, and then it will be stored into our Redis database with this particular index name. So if I like, after saving it, I print like something like done instead of printing the pages. Let's see if it is working or not, because there is very important thing or very important catch that you have to see. If you have already seen, then it's nice and good. This is going to throw an error, but you have to also understand why. So if you have figured out, here we are loading the document into our Redis and it is going to give an error. Why is that? So here it is simply saying, did not find Redis URL, please add to the environment variable or pass it as Redis URL as a parameter. Because we have not told it where or on what Redis it should actually connect. It does not by default know that I have to connect with the local Redis database. So for that, we have to basically provide it with the parameter. So for that, there is multiple way. You have to import. You can import Redis, RADIS, and you can basically create the instance for that. So you can basically create the instance. Let me paste the code. So it is Redis instance. So the Redis that you have imported, not this capital Redis from the Langchain. This is the default Redis. So here the host for this will be same for you too, because you are also doing it on our local host, or else if you are doing it on the server, you have to provide the host port as well as the password too. So now if I try, is it going to work? So here it says no module name Redis, so I provide pip install Redis. Now it's installing and installation is done. Now let's run our code. So it again says Redis URL is not found in the variable. So I think that it is asking the Redis URL to be passed in here. And Redis URL is in the form of Redis colon and then this IP address. Not double colon, I guess. Let me quickly check and verify. Okay, so it's colon double slash and this IP address followed with the port number, which is 6379. So if you have username and password, it will be followed with that too. So now let me just clear the screen and run it. Okay, so now here which means this code ran, but there is this library could not import tick token. So simply copy it, clear the screen, pip install, paste it here, tick token. So this is something that is required in order to tokenize our word, because once the word are created into token, then only that are converted into the embeddings. So now if I run the code again, so now it's done. Now the data is saved into the form of vectors into our database. So if I try to show you that data, how it is basically stored, let me just open Redis Insight. So this is a tool that you can download from the internet too, and you can basically set it onto the local database. So here you see the metadata is present here. So this is how the data is stored. These are all the different pages. So here the source covid.pdf, so it is the information from the PDF page. So this is the actual content. So this is the actual content of the text that is stored here, and this is the vector form. So it is not able to display it because it is in the form of numeric data, but somehow it is not able to display. But here you can see. So this is for page 4, this is for page 3. So all of those pages are basically stored into our vector database. Now we can basically use our ChatGPT to basically pass this information and then get the response out of it. So how we can do that? So for that we have to basically use retrievers, or what we can do from this document store, we can also produce the similarity search. So let's see both the matter. Dot similarity search, and let's say in this covid.pdf what I can see, background. Okay, let's try to with this, like when was the COVID first detected, when and where. Let's try to ask it, when and where was COVID detected, things like that. And now let's suppose search result SEARCH res is equal to will be, okay, yes, I missed. But now if I try to do print search res, so if I try to run the code main.py, so it should print the documents that were very similar to that. So if you see the first introduction, the first answer itself, it have picked like COVID was detected in December this in China. So now what we can do, we can basically pass this information to the ChatGPT to get the result. So how we can do that? Let me just, so we have to basically pass this. So for that we use something known as retrievers. So let me just simply import that. So it is basically retrieval QA. You can simply go to the documentation too, and retrieval QA, you can basically, so here they have also embedded the ChatGPT, but that's not a big issue. So using retrieval QA we can retrievers data connection, I think this is the one. So with the help of this retriever, what retriever actually help us to do, it retrieves the data as well as pass it to our ChatGPT. So both the things are done at once, and this makes it much more easy and convenient things to do. Retriever, so yes, there is a retriever QA. Let's see. So it's loading, it's embedding, saved into the vector database, and here like this is how we basically define a retriever. So retriever as DB retriever. So this DB in our case is the name is the document store. So here if I paste as DB as retriever, so here I have to basically say document store as retriever. So this is the retriever. Now we can actually use this retrieval QA to get our answer. So now let me also explain what's actually inside here. So here is the QA. Okay, so retrieval QA from chain type. So it is saying LLM is equal to OpenAI, but here if you want to use the ChatGPT 3.5, you can use OpenAI. But if you want to use that, let's suppose ChatGPT 4, you have to basically pass the chat model, things like that. And chain type should be stuff. Now the retriever is a retriever. So firstly it will retrieve the information, this particular data, put it to our chat model, and then we can simply ask question. So you can say QA dot run and when and where was COVID first detected, things like that. So now if I clear the screen, okay, now also we have to save the answer. Answer is equal to this, and we can print the answer. So I have already turned on autosave. So here I click on autosave. So as soon as I write the code, it automatically gets saved. So that is also a bit convenient thing to do. So here, as we have seen, this document store, this would have the PDF file, and the retriever is going to act as a retrieving. So here you see the answer that COVID-19 was detected in December 2019 by China, things like that. So we are successfully able to ask questions onto our PDF, and you can like keep on asking different questions from it. Let's suppose any questions. What should we do? You can also ask it to summarize the document. That's a good part. Summarize the PDF file, and it will simply summarize it. And until it's summarizing, so you have to see how this retriever is actually working. So document as retriever. If you go inside the code as retriever, and inside this code too, here it is doing the same thing. It is trying to perform the similarity search, and then it will return the result. So here is the summary of our PDF file, quite a short summary. So at the back end, the same thing is happening that we have already seen. Like it is trying to fetch all the unique records. It will be passed to our retriever, and this retrieval QA, we can basically keep on asking the questions from it. And this is how you can create a simple chatbot from your PDF file. And I hope this video was quite helpful. I will try to put this code onto the GitHub, except that env file. And if you have enjoyed and learned something new, please make sure to like and subscribe to this channel. And thanks for watching. I will meet you into the next video.